So nimekuja nyumbani. So wakaniuliza what's your plan? Kaambia I am planning to go on a 40 days fast and then I'll begin my life in Nairobi. Kaniambia it's okay. That was a different time in my life. My parents had never given me permission like that. It had never happened. So I go. At that time, my sister Jacinta has also lost her job. So we go with her to the mountain for 40 days and 40 nights. A wonderful place in Meru County called Timau. Mount Olives Prayer Center. We are there seeking the Lord 40 days and 40 nights. First, because I saw a vision of a time that would come where we would begin to have a conversation around the sons of ministers. The children of ministers or the pastors' kids. Kenya knows this. Our pastors' kids huku nje wanafanya mambo. Wanasababisha. So we would bring some perspective into the mind of God with regards to these children.
If fasting unatuambia,
yes,
like you're going with no food.
Yes, no food.
Day 1 up to day 40. Hello good people, Susie Ledadam, living positively regardless. Doesn't matter the point at which you are in life, but we rock positivity all the way.
Hallelujah, praise Jesus, good people. My stage name is Sospeter David, or Minister Sospeter David, but by the ID I go as Peter Macharia Minor. I developed an issue on Kono. And of course it was very hard for me. This is a story I don't like giving because it would paint my dad as bad. It does not. My dad is a very good man. But now this is the story. After that, I asked mom very serious questions. Very serious questions because I had had it enough. Because like 3 years, class 7 and class 8 zote mbili, I have tried to prove I have improved. So niliuliza mom a few serious questions, and one of those serious questions nilimuuliza, is that man my dad? Well, as I said, that was the last time we ever collided with my dad.
Okay.
It began a very wonderful story. But now, this wonderful story was solidified by the fact that, one, I was not at home, I was in boarding school. So, ile time tunaonana ni kidogo sana. So, hakuna hata hiyo time ya hapana. And then again, my spiritual growth and seriousness towards God had begun taking a toll on me. So kidogo naepuka mambo mingi. And then again, God had also begun using me. So my parents had begun seeing me more of a responsible person. Fast forward, I'm done with high school. I come to Nairobi. And I want to mention that part, a certain part now that will bring this whole story. A certain point in 2019, I'm in campus, and we are taking a unit, a psychology unit of child development. I had never known how a child is supposed to be raised. Of course, no one told me, and I had never raised one. Until now, I don't have one.
Sasa, with the 5 girlfriends.
With 5 girlfriends. Jehovah ni nani? Sasa, everything we learned in that unit was contrary to what happened to us. Literally everything. Do you know, kwa sababu nilikuwa nasoma, I was doing distance learning. Do you know I broke down? For the first time, imagine how much I missed and how much damage was done kwa life yangu. Nililia, and then something funny happened. Not really funny, but something really happened. I felt as if my heart is growing cold, literally kama venye ukiweka mkono kwa freezer ama fridge hivi nasikia hiyo baridi. I called my mom. I told her everything. told me, sasa mahali imefika, I have always talked with you behind the scenes, lakini sasa I also think you are of age. You should table all these things before your dad, and then let him know. And then
feelings.
and then mwone how you're going to begin a journey together. Right? I called him there. I ranted. I told you I'm a historian. I gave my father dates. Babangu alikuwa anashindwa, what is happening with this young boy? Because the dates were very accurate. Some of these things he was not even remembering. I could remind him of something aliniongelesha vibaya nikiwa class 2. Let me give the story. So, when we used to visit my dad's shop, there's a lady who used to sell stuff around. So, and then she disappeared for whatever reasons. So I asked my dad, na fulani alienda wapi? So I don't know dad alikuwa zipi hiyo day. I won't even say what he told me. Aliniuliza swali. Hata saa hii mtu akiniuliza, tutasemezana. So I kept nikaandika kwa kitabu yangu ya roho. I kept such events. So on this day, nilimsomea katiba. Clauses, kila kitu nilimsomea. Well, it was very heavy on him because on his side, and I truly agree with him, he had done his best to raise his children. Let me take you back. He was raised by a single mom. He did not have a father figure. So he had literally never seen someone raise his kids well. So he didn't know how to father. So according to him, alikuwa shafanya kazi nzuri. So this was very heartbreaking to him. Kupatia report card mzee, umepata chini ya 5, out of 10 uko below 5. That was really heartbreaking. But again, he was very mature. Mature, one, spiritually and also psychologically. Because I know friends of mine who have brought such discussions on the table sahi at this age, and then hell broke loose. Why? Because the parents again kidogo kuna imbalance bado. So my dad told me this, young man, the man you are calling dad was a young man who was also growing. And then I was like, wait a minute, what is that? Yes, and it is true. He was also a young man in his early 30s. He's trying to be something he has never been. So I swallowed that. And then do not forget the fact that I have said here many times how I grew with very mischievous behavior contributed so much to the fact that my dad would not trust me. So I had a part to blame. And then number 3, he told me there are no perfect fathers. You will never go out there and find a perfect father. What you have is a perfect mantle. That term fatherhood is a mantle. You do not have a perfect father. The greatest inheritance you, as a man, I could receive from him is fatherhood. Today I have cases of people who did not have fathers in their life. Their lives are in shambles because that man offered things like leadership. I saw him being a leader. I saw him being a very strong and decisive man. For example, in full-time ministry, there's one decision we always talk about. One day he came and said, na kama huku hakuna kitu msiende kukopa kwa duka. That was a very tough decision. Because at one point I mentioned wao wali hata meals kadhaa. At one point jikoni alienda kuamka in the morning and then aka fall kwa sababu ya kukosa nguvu. The wife asked him, hata sasa hautakopa?
Akiwa pale chini.
Akiwa hapo.
Nataka tukope ama?
Tukope tukuamsha hapo. Tuokoe jahazi.
Oh my goodness. It had become that bad.
The man said no. Actually what he did, when he was able to stand, he took the wife on a tour in the shamba. Akamwonyesha, hapa ndipo utanizika, in any case I die because of God. That man offered leadership. He was very decisive. Very decisive. Up to this date, it's very rare usikie dada kona deni ya mtu. Ni rare sana. Not unless usikie this is a crazy emergency. I'll give an example. During COVID, my mom alipata COVID. And then of course COVID si kitu mnasema, you are preparing for COVID, you have good money kept aside. So when the bill ilisomwa, one of our wonderful family members said, I'll set off the bill and then naweza nilipa pole pole. Now you see my dad ended up in a debt yenye he was not prepared for. But ati saa hii ati dada nipigia niambie ati nikopeshe 10,000 sasa ngumu. Actually mimi ndio niko na deni ya dad. Dad hana deni yangu. Sisi ndio tunamkopa mzee tukopea kitu. So my dad offered leadership. So my dad spoke lots of sense in me that day. Kaniambia listen. Again, those things are behind you. What happens right now is we begin a journey of healing. Begin a journey of healing. Begin a journey of healing kwa sababu if you don't heal, you will never father.
Okay.
You will never father. You can have children, but you'll never be their father. Because you will just be projecting the same thing that happened to you, utaileta sasa kwa watoto wako. Now you have to heal so that hizo vitu zote zisikuja kuaffect watoto wako. That began a very long journey. A very long journey. Very long journey, because even until now, I can't say that everything is set. But to the better part, things are set. And then God did things that are very intentional on my healing. For example, wakati nilimaliza high school, the first company I worked with after like an year of staying nje ya shule was a company yenye ni ya wanaume peke yake. I worked with a very wonderful company. Ilikuwa inaitwa Lago Vista. We were building holiday homes. A big shout out to a wonderful gentleman who used to give me work back then, anaitwa Mr. Michael Theure. His dad's step brother. So we used to, I went into a community, and then that gentleman, let me mention what he did to me. When I went there, nilipata hii place haina church. Don't you forget me najua church. By the way, by the time nilikuwa naingia Lago Vista, if I had ever missed church in all my life, ilikuwa angalau like 3 days. So naingia Lago Vista, huko kuna kanisa. So what the gentleman, I went and I complained to him, ngambia hapana, mimi kama hakuna kanisa, so begin a church. He had never seen me preach. So that is a story that marks the beginning of me and the ministry. Because I began a church. I actually began a church in a place where hiyo time nikianza church hakukuwa na msee amesevika. I began a fellowship of 2 guys, me and another gentleman, a wonderful brother of mine right now. He's called Kevin Mureithi. Kevo was not saved then, but he loved God. So we used to do some fellowships on Sunday morning and even during the week hapa katikati. And eventually later, Mr. Michael gave us an opportunity to be doing church for everybody. Like sasa kila mtu alikuwa attend church. So I would preach to all those men who we were working with. It was a wonderful experience. It helped build my confidence and my leadership skills. A shout out to Mr. Michael. I respect him. So as I said, it's a long journey. We moved from Lago Vista. We worked with a different company in Naivasha, doing the same thing. And then we were assigned the same supervisor, Mr. Michael, once again. And the same thing happened in Naivasha. And then fast forward, I come to Nairobi in the year 2020, because this is a story that most people who knew me then don't know. In the year 2020, around the month of July, I begin to feel enough is enough of me living in quote unquote bushes, because those holiday homes, we were not building them in town. We were building them in animal orphanages, like let me call them animal orphanages. A big ranch where wazungus have holiday homes, and then they are living with animals, the wild animals. So that's why we call it bushes. So I felt enough is enough of me staying in the bushes. And then some few things happened in that from July 2020 to around December that confirmed that I needed to live that life. One of those things is that I lost appetite. Now I'll explain
ya
all that.
kukula chakula ya food.
Ya kukula chakula.
Okay.
So kwenye tumetoka, as I said, we come from a family that really fasts. So if I lost appetite for some time, it would be an indicator of a long fast. So I had an issue with eating. Hata wakati najiforce, I would try. Nienda mpaka hosi, nikapimwa sijui viwavi, all those things zenye. Viwavi ni pests, I'm not so sure. Nikapimiwa bacteria and all those things. And kuonekana I'm perfectly fine. So by the time inaingia September, I was so sure kitu ilikuwa inaniita is a long fast. So fast forward 2021, I left Naivasha, came home, told my parents, you know what? I'm done with bush life. I want to begin life from scratch in Nairobi. I didn't have a life. A story I didn't say, when I was working for Mr. Michael, I began college. I didn't get a grade. Back then in our days, a B- would not allow you, or the government would not sponsor you B- for job in college. So I had to work and then hands in hands with my parents. My parents would support me. And then what I get, we combine, naenda nasoma. Again, a big thank you to Mr. Michael, because nilikuwa naenda nasoma. We would go to school for 3 weeks and then come tunasoma the rest of the content tukiwa nyumbani. So nilikuwa nafanya kazi na nasoma. That is how I was able to navigate like the first 2 years of my college life. Yes, 2 years and a half. So nimekuja Nairobi, and so dad is asking me, what about mambo ya kuan na mambo ya shule itakuaje? Ambia hapana, wewe acha tuende mbele, tutajua hiyo mambo mbele. And of course Mr. Michael had already given us his word that angenishika mkono mpaka nimalize shule, but nilikuwa nimefeel time yangu imeisha. So nimekuja nyumbani, so wakaniuliza what's your plan? Kaambia I am planning to go on a 40 days fast and then I'll begin my life in Nairobi. Kaniambia it's okay. Well, that was a different time in my life. My parents had never given me permission like that. It had never happened. And when I will be giving maybe a summary of the notes, I'll say something about that. So I go. At that time, my sister Jacinta has also lost her job. So we go with her to the mountain for 40 days and 40 nights. A wonderful place in Meru County called Timau. Mount Olives Prayer Center. We are there seeking the Lord 40 days and 40 nights. Fasted. And the Lord spoke so many things. For example, this is a beautiful thing. I wish I had my prayer book. What we are doing today is in that book.
Wow.
Yes, because I saw a vision of a time that would come where we would begin to have a conversation around the sons of ministers, the children of ministers, or the pastors' kids. And then we would try to change perspective, 1, on the society, and 2, on the kids. Because let me tell you, if there are people who are lost, and of course Kenya knows this, our pastors' kids huku nje wanafanya mambo, wanasababisha. So we would bring some perspective into the mind of God with regards to these children, and also speak to the society. These are kids kama wengine. Hii expectation shusha. They are kids like any other kids. So yes, many things happened. God spoke very many things to us. And we were delighted, and I was ready to begin my life. I come home 3 weeks.
If fasting unatuambia,
yes,
like you're going with no food.
Yes, no food.
Day 1 up to day 40.
Day 1 to day 40. No food. We just took drinks and ni cocoa too.
Like uji?
No, cocoa. Cocoa, coffee, yes.
40 days, and you didn't die.
40 days.
Of course,
no,
because you're here.
No, you can't die.
Oh my goodness.
If we were talking about
and you had
fasting,
the energy to pray.
Wow. Let me say something about that. If you have not fasted, you do not know the difference between strength and grace. You do not know the difference between the arm of flesh and grace. Let me give a short story of my father, because I have not fasted like him. There's a certain period, God gave him a program, a fasting. How many years were they? There were 2 years. So the first year, alikuwa anaenda fasting kama shule. First term tukifungua shule, he would do a 40 days fast. And then an arrest for hiyo time imebaki mpaka tufunge shule. Tukifungua shule, anaanza na sisi anaenda 40 days. So by the time tunakuja midterm na ndio nashuka mlima. like 40 days fasting.
Na si chakula sahi imekosekana nyumbani.
No.
Just to
I'll
ask.
mention that somewhere later. And then towards the end of the year, he would do 60 days.
Wow.
And then the next year, it was 60, 60, 40.
Okay.
You can't die. And this is not shakahola. If it's done in the right way. And again, you must hear God, vizuri. One, you must be very decisive. You must know what you're doing, what you want. And you must also hear God. For example, when I went, I have told you, I began to feel the urge in the month of July. So by the time I'm going to do it in January, I'm already convinced this is not me, it's beyond me. So yes, we didn't die, that's why we are here.
So you came back.
So we came, I come to Nairobi in the month of March, I begin life. And at some point, and I salute my dad for this, around the month of July again, an event is happening with our family, somewhere in Rwaka. And Jacinta is still at home, but she was coming for this event. I holler my dad, I tell him, hey daddy, fine, I am thinking of something. I'm thinking of getting Jacinta out of the village. What do you think? He says, you know, she's my daughter. Now, daughters and their fathers. You know, she's my daughter. I can't just throw her out. I told him, let's exchange roles kidogo hapa. Or, acha tusaidiane kidogo. Give her to me. I'll try father her from this point. Let me do the part of fathering I can at this point. Let me tell you something, Susie. I was being hosted by a wonderful friend and brother of mine. His name is Pastor Philip Kere. I was being hosted by Pastor Philip. Na sasa hiyo nataka kufather msichana wenyewe.
Are you working?
Your time, by that time actually I was doing something online. I was selling clothes and shoes online. Okay. So business was not bad, and considering I was not paying rent, so this amount I was earning is at least good. Ilikuwa inapeleka gurudumu la maisha. Decisions are very important. My sister is coming here July. So I talked to a good friend of mine. We were having fellowship with somewhere. We had a small fellowship somewhere. So one of the people we were fellowshipping there was a single lady. I talked to her, I said, hey, listen, I need some favor from you. Would you host my sister for me? She's a hardworking girl. If she can't, by maybe 3 months at a confit, and she'll be ready to stay with on her own. She said so many things we might not mention on camera because of questions. But her heart was already prepared. She even didn't know my sister, but her heart was already prepared that I would request her such a thing and she'd be ready. So it was easy. My sister comes, she's hosted. Hiyo ndio story ya my sister kutoka Ocha. And then who is God? The next month I get a customer service job with CCI, Call Center International, a wonderful company. I don't know. I'm not sure whether I'll ever gather energy to say anything bad about CCI. CCI has its flaws. People talk about its flaws. But I want to use CCI, and the reason as to I'm mentioning CCI, to show how God used CCI to help me with my issues, esteem issues. A customer service job requires you to be very confident. Very confident. You must have people skills. You must be empathetic. You must be able to stomach a lot of pressure, because there are customers who call you, they are irate, they are very frustrated, and you will need to be sober. I'll begin with a confession. Nimesomea customers kadhaa.
CCI kujieni.
Oh my goodness. Hey, nimesomea customer. And then do not forget, I'm a teacher. So what I would do, I would package my msomo vizuri. Nangoja customer maliza kurant. Umemaliza? Ambia sasa sikiza mteja. Hivi na hivi na hivi. Na hufai kufanya hivi na hivi na hivi. Kuna mmoja niliuza. Don't you think we are also human beings? So, mwingine niliuza. Yani, you think because they said, oh, nyinyi ni wezi, nini, of course, I asked them. So I woke up today in the morning with an intention in mind to come and steal from you. So I did a lot of that. But with again very good hands. People who walked with me that journey consciously and unconsciously. The people who didn't know what I have dealt with in life, but at some point I experienced some stress because what happened is, if I'm pushed to a corner, ile kitu yote, all those demons would wake up, and my life would take a different turn. So such a moment happened, and again, thank you to CCI through the help of my team manager then, a wonderful gentleman. Let me mention his name, Eric Musioka. If not Musioka, it's Musioka. Helped me go through counseling. There's a whole team that does counseling, and I walked out of that situation. And then we came again through another situation that was really, really bad. And then I also came to that point of snapping, and again through another wonderful team, I was able to walk a journey of healing. Now, well, I left CCI. I work with a different company, but still doing customer service. But CCI gave me people skills. Susie, I would enter a matatu back then, and I would not speak to my neighbor. It doesn't matter the distance. Kama na suffocate kwa dirisha, siwezi muomba afungue dirisha. I'm the kind of people, I have good friends, but kama nalala njaa siwezi kuambia. I didn't know how to talk to people. I didn't know how to request, because the first thing that comes in mind, atanichukulia aje, atasema nini, what is all those things, traumas would speak, traumas would go ahead and speak. And CCI gave me a lot of confidence. I recall the better part of my working in the office, because like half of the time I worked in the office, half of the time I worked at home. The better part of me working in the office, when there is an onboarding of a new team, I would always be given a certain people to guide through the process. And everyone always gave me this compliment. You're a good teacher.
Wow.
CCI gave me that confidence. CCI brought that person in me, the person who was hidden, the confident person, the social person. I was not social, the social person and all that. And I owe it to CCI that I have the new job that I have, because they gave me work. First, they gave me an opportunity I didn't deserve. All I had was an ID, because I didn't have the certification from college to say I'm certified and all that. So they believed in us, a couple of us, and then we were taken. They gave me experience and exposure. I didn't have, don't forget, I'm coming from the bushes. Hell is almost breaking loose. I am coming to Nairobi. Watu wa Nairobi msinipige makofi. It's the first time I'm seeing people naked face to face. Nairobi people walk naked mchana. I'm walking in a very calm and cool place that does not stress so much on what we call decency, dress code. As long as you're okay with it, we kuja tu. Karibu kijana ashindwe ulikuja Sodom na Gomora. Because don't you forget, I'm a pastor's kid. We come from a very clean society. There are words that were never spoken in our house. We never had them. We had never had a conversation about, for example, about sexuality with my parents. We'd never had.
So what?
My parents,
You cannot dare.
My parents never showed any signs of romance before us. These guys become a bro na seized maze. Kuna kitu kama hiyo. Hauwezi detect kuna chemistry.
Dugu na dada.
We never hakukuwa ikuwa na hizo display. So I come to a place yenye ni very new. I appreciate that opportunity to work in a space yenye is a secular space. Why?
Okay.
One, it challenged me as a Christian. How would you stand? And how would you witness to these people without judging them? CCA is a good place. And then at the end of my tenure, they gave me a certificate. So where I went to, actually I can recall in the first days of me working there, they were telling me, you can handle any pressure if you've worked in CCI. So I salute CCI. Now, Long story short, when I came to Nairobi, the Lord gave us an opportunity to do ministry. Just a small fellowship. We just began as a small fellowship, and it has grown to a body. Well, we didn't see that coming. It has grown to a body. It's yet to be launched. The ministry, the body is called Royalty Networks International. Under Royalty Networks International, we have a few things we do. We do fellowship. So under Royalty Networks International, we have a whole department called Royalty Networks Fellowship. So, and then we have high school ministry. There's a department for that. We have a charity department. It's called Royal Bounty. There's a whole department for that. Yes, and so far so good, we thank. From the year 2020, around August, the Lord put in me, because back then I used to receive lots of calls, and I also did lots of calls. I used to disciple people via phone. So the Lord put it in my heart to begin writing something, just a little thing, a devotional, and then post it on my socials. And then I would post it and people would read. Now that would save me the time I'm taking on phone. It's like in the days of Moses. God tells Moses, delegate your duties and only deal firsthand with the difficult matters. So the devotions pretty much did that job. I invited a few people, only two turned up. A wonderful friend of mine from back in high school, Minister Rachel Rokwaro, shout out to her, and Jacinta, my sister Jacinta. So they joined me. We wrote devotions with them for some time. And then the Lord led us to a place where I'm the only one who writes the devotions then. And now we have a new phase where we are doing audio. We are doing the audios and we are posting them on my YouTube channel, Sospeter David. I think it's Minister Sospeter David. If you search that on my on YouTube, you'll find me. On Facebook, it's Sospeter David. Yes, if you search, you'll always find our daily devotional there. So in terms of ministry, that is where we are. Let's talk about the pastor's kid in a summary. The first thing that I mentioned is every minister must pray for two things to happen in their house. One, there must be a lot of wisdom. A lot of wisdom. Because were it not for the wisdom of my mother, and I'm saying in the family because it could be that the mother is the pastor and the father is not the pastor. Maybe he's an elder of the church. So wisdom is required in the house. For example, I have had cases of women of God, women pastors who do not submit to their husbands because they feel they are anointed and the man is not. So the man ought to honor the anointing. Touch not the Lord's anointed. Hapo kitu inakosekana ni wisdom. Because biblical principles are eternal. They do not change. They don't change with time. They stand. The God's standards cannot be lowered to fit someone's maybe preference or view. So there's a lot of wisdom that is required. Men of God must invest in godly wisdom, and they must also seek counsel from families that have been there before, people who have done it successfully. For example, right now, because all of us are in ministry, myself and my sisters, we are all in ministry, and all of us are doing something in the area God has called us. Now, parents, pastors who have, my dad has a gang of pastors who are his friends. Some call him their elder brother. They would really want their families to look like my dad's family. So what I would advise is such people ought to seek counsel from families. Recently, I was listening to my mom counsel one of her sisters-in-law. And what she did, the good thing she did is she first peeled back the mask. She showed her the scars. She told her, this is where we have come from. We have not always had it. You see, everything is good on camera. But there's a behind the scene. There are things that have happened. So people must seek counsel, and they must also seek godly counsel. The other thing is that godliness must be at the center. Yes, and I say that with a lot of fear because I don't know whether I would be termed as one who is not who's not come to the place of saying such things, but with my small walk with God, I would tell you there are people who are running with gifts. Running with gifts is, there's a difference between being gifted and having a relationship with God. Having a relationship with God is that you have a daily walk with Him. A daily walk with Him. And of course, that there's a whole story around that. But for example, we come from a family of dreamers. We dream crazily, and by God's grace, we also, by God's grace, we also interpret dreams by God's grace. So when He has not availed it, I'll tell you plainly, I do not have the interpretation. So we could pick that one and build a ministry around that. Dreams International, with the set man of God, minister, apostle, oracle, Sospeter David. And then people will come to me because they have a dream. And then I'll point them to myself and I'll tell them, without me, bila mimi, amwende binguni. And that is the beginning of cults. Many cults do not begin as vitumbaya. It's just someone capitalizes on something and then makes it to the doctrine. And anyone who is against that is not going to heaven or is an enemy. Long story short. So everything must be.
You're saying if I dream today and I want an interpretation of my dream, I can come to you and you're able to interpret it for me? Yes, and I want you to be helping someone.
No, okay. The story of dream interpretation has two faces quickly, Joseph and Daniel. Joseph has a dream and his father is interpreting the dream to him. But the next time there's a dream mentioned, it's Joseph who is interpreting the dream to the prisoners and to Pharaoh. So quickly, I would want to say, dream interpretation should not end with one man. For example, the father of Joseph did not go with Joseph to Egypt so that he goes ahead to build a ministry around him. Like, now I am Jacob, the dream interpreter. No. What happens is, and how, for example, I have received it from my father is dream impartation. He never prayed for us that receive. No. But by sitting under him, giving him dreams and him interpreting, little by little that thing rubbed on us. But now it should not end with me now coming and saying, now all of you who have dreams. The giver of the dream is the giver of the interpretation. Because those are the exact words of Joseph, that there is a God in heaven who gives the dreams and the interpretation. And so also Daniel said, it is God who gives the interpretation. And as I said, if He gives us the grace. For example, the people who have had the opportunity of interpreting their dreams, I've told them, there are people who have told them, dreams in interpretation. There are people who have told, this one requires us to wait. Like, wait, this is an event. It's more of a vision. It's more of something that will play out. And some of those things, most of those things have happened. Yes, but if you pray to God, if you pray genuinely to God, He will give you the interpretation. Yes. So, we cannot build ministry around gifts. So I said, godliness must be, again, the relationship between you and God must be the source of your livelihood, even in that house. For example, I'll say, my dad said, I'm going into full-time ministry. I don't think, according to the conversations we have had, I've not had him say, the Lord told me to go into full-time ministry. He said he purposed in his heart to go into full-time ministry. Well, that's another story for another day. But now, him being in full-time ministry meant everything around his house is God. I'm not saying that people now go to full-time ministry and other things are not godliness, but I'm saying godliness with all parameters. For example, there should be submission. Submission is one of those things I strongly advocate. If you're a pastor, have someone who corrects you, and let the people who are under you know that. Let people who are under you know that you're a man under authority. The centurion servant said, I am a man under authority. You cannot command authority if you are not under authority. A story for another day. The other thing I must say, we should never look at the things the way they come. If you are in a pastor's house or a minister's house, your parent is a deacon, you're a deacon, never look at things the way they have come. For example, let me give an example. Kuna wakati nimedunga Jacinta na jembe. Vizuri. Now if my parents only saw a naughty boy, they would have corrected the wrong thing. Because even after that, nilimkata masikio na nilikata.
Ulimkata na jembe mistakenly ama ukitaka?
No, nikitaka.
Oh, you decided haka leo na kagonga jembe.
Tulipatiwa portion ya kulima. I told you I hate farming. Tulipatiwa portion ya kulima. Niko ile upande, ako huu upande. So, Jacinta anataka kulima upande wangu. Literally she just wanted to be where her brother is. I didn't, mimi sikuget hiyo. Mimi niliget ile side yake ni ngumu na hataki kulima. And she's been aside hiyo side ngumu kwa sababu yeye ni first born. So mwambia Jacinta ondoa mguu ama nikudunge. Akakataa kuondoa. Jacinta ondoa mguu ama nikudunge. Akakataa kuondoa. Mama aliitwa na kelele.
Ulidunga?
Si ndio. Suzia cha kufanya watu online wananikiwa mbaya. So tuendelee.
Mr. Sospeter, ulidunga sister yako na jembe. Oh my goodness, you are really a naughty boy.
Naughty boy. That's a small naughty boy. So kama ilienda up na kiboko, they corrected the wrong thing. Because after that nilimkata masikio na nilikata. Because and wakati bado nilipanishiwa for that, after that bado nilimgonga kichwa kwa jiwe. So when things come,
you have really harassed that girl.
Yeah, she's in my friend's circle.
Wow, guys, what do you think? What a session we are having with one Minister Sospeter, and man, I just want to sit here and listen and learn, take point about being a pastor's child and growing up. Mungu wangu, watu wengine wameteswa. The sister has been really harassed. Anyway, guys, for now, let's just have it there. So, guys, we are going to have part 3, and it will be the final part, and it's the part that is carrying about the prophetic word for our land, Kenya. You want to know what is about to happen. And by the way, it's not something nice. It's not something nice because it's death. So it's not something nice, but we can turn it to be good. If we pray. No, I don't want to preempt you what the minister want to talk about that. So guys, make sure you watch part 3 of this. And thank you so much for being here. Kindly subscribe if you've not subscribed. Kindly go to Minister Sospeter YouTube channel. You will also get to hear these things firsthand. You will hear those prophetic words being spoken there. So for now, bye.